Doesn't it look kind of the same? Maybe I could have made the middle a little bit more up, but yeah, anyways, let's open this up. See what it says. If you look in the right places, you can find some good offerings. Hey guys, in today's tutorial, I'll be teaching you how to crochet a fortune cookie. I did make these for hospice patients for Valentine's Day, so I wanted to do a tutorial as well because they're really simple to make. Let me show you how one of these looks. So I decided to do a normal cookie color. I also wanted to do pink as well because I want to go with a Valentine's Day theme. They're really simple to make. You only need to know how to do the magic circle, and then everything else is a single crochet. So if you're interested in making one of these, I'll let you know what you'll need in the next couple of clips. I'll be using a 5mm crochet hook. I don't remember what brand this is from, but this is a weight of 4 yarn. You will also need a stitch marker, threading needle, and scissors. I'll also be using a pink Sharpie, white felt, and a hot glue gun. Last but not least, I will be using some scrap pieces of yarn as my stuffing. We're going to start off with our magic circle, so let's take our yarn, and I like to wrap it around 3 fingers to create this X. So now I'll take my crochet hook and insert it inside the circle. And then I'm just going to grab this front piece of my yarn and pull it through, and then I'll just twist it up. So now I have a loop on my hook. Now I'm just going to yarn under with this. Well, I'm going to take my hook and go under the yarn because it's easier. And then I'll just pull it through. And then now I'll just let go so you can see the circle. And then you can just tighten this up. And that is our magic circle. To close up the circle just a bit, you can pull on this yarn, but don't pull it too much because you don't want it to fully close. But now for round 1, we're going to single crochet 6 times into the circle. So a single crochet is going into the circle, and you want to grab this yarn and pull it through the circle. And you are working around the circle and this yarn piece as well. So now that we have 2 loops on our hook, we want to yarn over and pull through both loops. So that was a single crochet. And then I'm just going to tighten this up a bit. And I'll show you that one more time. So I'm going to take my crochet hook and go inside the circle. I'm grabbing this yarn and pulling it through. Now I have 2 loops on my hook. I'm going to yarn over and pull through both for a single crochet. So I need to do this 6 times. Well, I have to have 6 single crochets. So I need 4 more. And then I'll just speed this up a bit so it doesn't take too long. Once we have 6 single crochets, we can now tighten up the circle. So you can just take this yarn and pull on it. And then we have a closed circle, and you can now insert your stitch marker into the last stitch. For round 2, we're going to increase into every stitch with a single crochet. So here is my first stitch. I'm just going to go in, do 1 single crochet, and I have to do 1 more to make it an increase into the same stitch. So just going in, pulling this yarn through, 2 loops on my hook, yarning over and pulling through both. So now I have to repeat that for every stitch, which means I will have a total of 12 stitches in round 2, and I'll show that one more time. So going into my next stitch, I'm just going to go in for, that was 1 single crochet, going into the same stitch for another single crochet. So now I'll just repeat that all the way through until I get 12 stitches in total. Once you get to your last stitch, you can just remove your stitch marker and then do your last increase. So that was 1 single crochet and 2 into the same stitch. I'll just place my stitch marker into the last stitch, and I'm now done with round 2. For round 3, we're going to start off with an increase into the first stitch. So here's my first stitch. I'm just going to go in with 2 single crochets. So there's 1, and my second into the same stitch. Now I'm going to single crochet into the next stitch, so just 1 single crochet. Next, I have to repeat those 2 steps all the way through until I end up with 18 stitches in total, and I will demonstrate those steps one more time. So going into the next stitch, I need to start off with an increase, which means 2 single crochets into that same stitch. So I just did 1, going in for my second, Now into the next stitch I have to do 1 single crochet. And now I'm just going to repeat those steps all the way through until I get 18 stitches in total. Once you make it to your stitch marker, you should have 1 single crochet left to do, and you are now done with round 3. For round 4, we're just going to single crochet into each one of these stitches, so there's no increases or anything, just 1 single crochet in each of these stitches, which means you're still going to end up with 18 stitches in total for round 4. Round 5, we're going back to an increasing round, so let's first start off with an increase into the first stitch, and we're still only using single crochets, so let's do 2 single crochets into this first stitch. So I just did 1, going in for my second. Now we're going to single crochet into the next 1, 2 stitches, so just 1 single crochet into each of those. So I just did 1, going into my next stitch for 2. Or my second single crochet. So now I'm going to repeat those 3 steps all the way through until I get 24 stitches in total, and I will demonstrate one more time. So I have to start off with an increase into the next stitch. So this one here, I'll do 1 single crochet and my second one into the same stitch. Now I have to single crochet into the next 1, 2 stitches. So I'm just going to do 1 single crochet into each of those. So I just did 1. Moving on to my next stitch, I'll do 1 more single crochet. And now I'm just going to repeat those steps all the way through. So I'll just show that again. I'm going into my next stitch with an increase. And then into the next 2 stitches, I'm just doing 1 single crochet into each of those. Now going into the next stitch. And then at my stitch marker, I will end up with 1 single crochet left to do, and I'll have my 24 stitches. For round 6, we're going to start off with an increase into the first stitch. So here's my first stitch. I'm going in with an increase. So that was 1 single crochet, and I'm doing another one into that same stitch. Now I'm going to single crochet into the next 1, 2, 3 stitches. So in each of those, I'll just do 1 single crochet. Going into my third one. And now I have to repeat those 4 steps all the way through until I end up with 30 stitches in total, and I will demonstrate that one more time. So going into the next stitch, I will start off with an increase. So that was 1, and I'm going to do another single crochet into that same stitch. And now I'm going to single crochet into the next 1, 2, 3 stitches. Remember, just 1 single crochet into each of those stitches. I'm stuttering. Okay, so now I'll just repeat this all the way through, and at my stitch marker, I will end up with 1 single crochet left to do. For round 7, we're going to start off with an increase into the first stitch. So let's do our increase. That was 1 and 2. Now we're going to single crochet into the next 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches. So just 1 single crochet into each of those. Now we're going to repeat those steps all the way through until we end up with 36 stitches in total for round 7, and I will demonstrate that one more time. So going into my next stitch, I'm going to start off with an increase. So that was 1 single crochet, and I'll do 1 more to that same stitch. Now I'm going to single crochet into the next 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches. So just 1 single crochet into each of those. And now when I repeat that all the way through, I will end up with 1 single crochet left to do at the stitch marker, and I will be done with round 7. So this is what the cookie currently looks like, and for round 8 it's actually our last increasing round, so that means we're going to start off the same way. Let's start off with an increase into the first stitch. So this is an increase with a single crochet, so I'm just going in with my second single crochet, and now we're going to single crochet into the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches. So let's just do 1 single crochet into each of those stitches. And now I have to repeat those steps all the way through until I end up with 42 stitches in round 8, and I will demonstrate that again. So going into my next stitch, I will do an increase. So that was 1, 2 into the same stitch. Now I'm single crocheting into the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches. So again, just 1 single crochet into each of these. Now I'm just going to repeat this all the way through, and at my stitch marker I will have 1 single crochet left to do. Once you're done with round 8, you can remove your stitch marker, and this is what we're left with. So now all you have to do is just fold this in half, and I fold it where my last single crochet I did is, so this one right here. I'm just going to fold it on that side. And then we're just going to single crochet these sides. So let's just insert our hook back in, and we're just going to single crochet the sides. So what you have to do is just go through this stitch right here. So it's literally right after where your single crochet was. We're just going to go into that stitch, and then we're going to meet it with the next side over. So this one here, I'm just going to push it through, and taking this yarn and pulling it through. We're single crocheting this close, so there's our 2 loops. Let's yarn over and pull through. So that was just 1 single crochet I did to close this edge. Now I'm just going to repeat that until I get to this side, but I'm not going to close the whole thing because we need an opening so we can stuff it, and we can also add our little felt tab. So let's just finish single crocheting some of this up. So you can fold it in half and go through both, but I find that it's a little bit harder. So what I just do is just go through one side first. So this next stitch, and then I push it through the next one on the other side, pulling it through. There's the 2 loops, yarning over and pulling through both. I'll show that a couple more times. So I'm literally just going into the next stitch, push your hook through, meet it with the other side, taking the yarn, pulling through both. There's the 2 loops, yarning over and pulling through. So again, let's just go into our next stitch, and then on the other side as well, let's pull it through. There's our 2 loops, yarning over, pulling through both. And then let me do another one so I can show you what it looks like after this. Okay, so here's what it looks like so far, and then this is what the back looks like. And then I'll just finish closing this up. Remember, don't close it up all the way because we will need to stuff it. So let me just finish the rest of this off camera, and then I'll be right back. Okay, so this is what it looks like, and I have my little opening right here. So this excess yarn, you can just push it back in. And now what we're going to do is just take your stuffing and fill this up. I have my stuffing right here. You don't need too much because this is really small. Okay, so you don't want to stuff this up too much because you want to make sure you can fold this. So what you can do is just push the middle and then fold it this way to see if you overstuffed it, and I feel like that looks fine. So what I'm going to do is leave it like that for now, and then I'm just going to finish single crocheting this side. So wait, let me see. Yeah, I don't want to stuff it anymore. Okay, so what we're going to do next is just single crochet the side. We're not single crocheting it close, you're just going to single crochet this whole thing right here. So I'll show you what to do. So you're going to go into your next stitch. So this is where I left off. Now I'm just going into my next stitch on this side, and I'm going to do 1 single crochet. I'm just doing a single crochet into each of these stitches because I don't want it to end off weird, because this right here has a border. And if I didn't single crochet this, it would just look kind of weird, a little bit off. So I'm just going to finish single crocheting, going into my next stitch. Remember, we're not closing this, we're just single crocheting into the stitches that are left open. So going into the next one, just single crocheting. Let me take it out so you can see what it looks like. So again, I'm just single crocheting into each of these stitches right here. And then once I get to the other side, I'll show you how I ended off. Again, just go around single crocheting. So now I'm on the back side. Okay, so I'm close to my last couple of stitches. I'll do this one here. And then for this last one, I'm just going to go into the stitch across the other side. So you see this right here? I'm not going to go into this last one. I'm just going to go straight into the other side. So this right here, I'm going to push my hook through, pulling this yarn, and I'm going to go straight through. So that was basically a slip stitch. Now I'm going to take my scissors and cut off this excess yarn, leaving some excess so I can end this off. So we just cut off our yarn. We now have this loop here. What I'm just going to do is take my yarn and push it through the loop. And I'm just going to tighten it closed. So just pulling it. And then I'm going to push this excess yarn back in to my fortune cookie. And we're actually going to hot glue this closed, but first we need to create our little felt tab. So I almost forgot, but we also need to sew up the side a bit, or sew up this inside right here. Technically you don't have to, because you can just use hot glue, but if you want to make it a little bit more secure, what we're going to do is take our yarn and we're just going to cut off. It doesn't need to be too long because this piece isn't too big, but we're just going to cut it off so we can sew up this side a bit. So we're going to sew this part closed. So let's take our threading needle and insert our yarn. Then what I like to do, let me just push this yarn back in, but what I like to do next is, so when I fold this in the middle, we can see that these two sides will meet up next to each other. So what I'm going to do is go from this opening here, push it through this side, and I'm just going to push it out. Don't pull it all the way because you need your yarn to stay on this side. So right here, just leave some excess. And then what I'm going to do is meet it up with this side right here. So this is what it currently looks like. And I'm just going to pull it through. And then I'm going to go back to this stitch that I went through in the beginning. And I'm going to push it back out all the way. Now we are going to also hot glue this in the middle just to make it extra secure. But what I'm going to do now is just pull on these pieces. And then just push it up. And what you're going to do is just tie these two ends together and then stuff it back in. And then I'm just going to push this back in. Or if it's overstuffed, you can just cut the excess yarn. So it's not fully closed yet, but I'm going to put some hot glue like right in the middle once we're done with the tab. But this is what it currently looks like. I feel like I may have overstuffed it. But now let's work on the tab. Okay, so for the tab, you just need to cut off a small piece of felt. I had this left over from a different tab that I made, so I'm just going to use this and then finish cutting it off later. But before I cut it too small, I'm just going to make a little heart at the end. So I'm just going to take my marker and draw a heart. Or you can write whatever you want, but I'm just going to do a heart. Now that I have my heart, I'm just going to cut this down a bit because it's a little bit too big. I have my hot glue plugged in right now, so I'm waiting for it to heat up, but I just have my little felt tab here, and then I'm just going to place it where this opening is. So I'm going to put some hot glue down right here, and then I'm just going to place the tab right there, and then I'll finish gluing off the side. So let me just check if my glue is ready. So I'm just going to place it this little corner right here. You can place it further down if you like, but I like mine's a little bit higher up. So now I'm just going to take my tab and place it on the glue. Make sure you're careful. And once I have that secured, I can now glue this closed. So I'm just going to place some hot glue on top of this tab to this bottom. And then I'll just hold this down for a bit. And then that's what it currently looks like. So now you can see that it's a little bit too wide open. So what I'm going to do now is insert some hot glue into the middle of this. And then now I'm just going to push it down, and I have to hold it for a couple of seconds, so I'll be back once this is fully dried. It's completely glued down. This is what it looks like, and now I can add it to my other batches of cookies, and I can't wait to give these out to the hospice. But I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next one.